Hello? Is this working right now? Let me check it. I'm sorry. Um, yes, I'm online right now. Am I? Great. Just a second. So this is actually a really trial streaming that I am using the like a live streaming software instead of the instead of the kind of just streaming my stitching. I'd like to kind of introduce what Sashiko is, what Boro is like. So I will be talking about the difference between Boro and Sashiko today, and this is the trial. Just a second. It is on, right? Yeah. It's not like live streaming from. Yeah, there we go. So I'm Matsushi. Might be the first time since 2015 to show my face. I gained a little bit of weight, but it's okay. I'm a father. Uh, so today I'm gonna talk about what is the difference between Sashiko and Boro. I have like this is like one of the popular question in workshop as well as the website. Um, Basically, Sashiko, in my understanding, is the process of making a stitch, and Boro is the result of those repetition of stitching. So I have a sample here. Please work. There we go. Oh, now you learned my password. That's not good. I gotta change it. Can you see that? So this is the Boro my mother created. It's not exactly the patchwork. Um, I do respect those culture of making a patchwork with Boro inspired. The Boro itself means a rag, so it is not wrong to say that the patchwork with the vintage fabric or even like just regular fabric can be a Boro. But strictly speaking, Boro is some type of fabric you get after so many stitching over and over and over again. So I would say this is very Boro-like feature. This hole was not created manually. It happened automatically by using this fabric over and over. When you get those Boro fabric from the antique market, especially in Japan, sometimes you don't want to wash it because those fabrics get washed away. This fabric itself was washed several times, and it lost a lot of weight because the boro itself has a lot of like traditional boro from the vintage market may have a lot of dust and those dirt as the weight. So we washed those fabric away. I'm not the fabric away. We washed those dirts and small pieces away. Then we make this kind of big rag. You know what? Can I come back a little later? I will redo everything again. I don't think I should keep live streaming with my password on. So I'll be right back. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be right back. Just a second, okay? I'm sorry. How can I turn it off? I cannot turn it off. Hello. Is it working right now? God, I'm not really good at this. Yes, I think we are on right now. We are online right now. More connection? Come on. There we go. Please give me the comment if my camera is not doing a good job. So this is my first trial, the second trial. The first one was pretty bad. To explain what is the difference between the Sashiko and Boros. I think the camera itself is not really doing a good job. Hmm. Well, let's go. So let me start from the beginning. Sashiko, Sashiko is the, in my understanding, Sashiko is the process of making a stitching with the purpose of reinforcing, um, upcycling, mending, and repurposing. Those like ordinary people's job. On the other hand, Boro is the result of those repetitive stitching. So there are a lot of kind of word just going on Sashiko and Boro in the quilting or patchworking, those handcrafting world. I do respect all of those translations and interpretation, but strictly speaking, Boro is the fabric, a rag used over and over in the daily life, and they had to mend it to keep using that, and as a result, they have those mosaic-like patterns just to mend the fabric. Okay, I'm sorry. The kind of not the camel itself is not good. I understand that. I'll get better solution for next time. But this is a good example of Boro. This is not a pattern. This is two different fabric. One fabric from the back of those torn fabric, and that makes a kind of like a art-like patterns. But I believe back then people didn't think about that much of art perspective. They thought about they thought about the functionality, how they can keep using the fabric. My mom and my mother and I, we repurpose those fabric. There are a lot of small borrow-ish fabric in the antique market, but they're completely torn. So we patch them as the Japanese in 18th century, 19th century did, and recreate those fabric again. It's a lot of work, so we cannot make a lot of borrow fabric right now. But it is not just a patchwork. It's more like it became a patchwork as a result of mending, patching the hole, and I mean, strengthening the fabric. I hope it makes sense. This is pretty big fabric. Like this. Mm, I really have to move slowly, huh? Again, I'm sorry, this is the trial live streaming. I would like to know if I can use this software or not. This will be a good material to film my live streaming. So, okay, this shall work. If you have any questions, please let me know. But I'll show you another borrow. Hmm, just I'll put this camera here. Just a second. This is the Bora we focused on more like patchworking with the stripe fabric. So this might look like the Boro you may have in your mind, like patchworking. This is more like focused on the patchworking. At the same time, there are a lot of fragile part. This is a small fabric here to mend a hole. People say, the Japanese people used to say, they said that if you have the size of this fabric big enough to wrap soybeans, you should keep it. So you can use that to the next, you can use the piece of fabric in the next project. Don't do that. Don't do that in 2018 because that's the one step closer to the hoarding issue. But at the same times, if you like to keep it like my mother does, keep keep not a hoarding, but keep piling those small fabrics so you might be able to use that to these small patterns. In this live streaming or in my work Sashiko workshop, I explain the difference between the Boro and Sashiko and what Sashiko is from my perspective. But that doesn't mean that the Sashiko in the US or in the Australia, in Europe, that you learn from different teachers are wrong. Do not misunderstand that. There is no such a thing as right or wrong in Sashiko, in my understanding. The reason is that there's so many Sashiko styles in Japan. The Sashiko was very ordinary job for ordinary people. So there's no such a thing as like a structured Sashiko. By region to region, people practice different kind of Sashiko. And now, I guess one common thing that people have in the concept of Sashiko is that they appreciate the fabric. And I follow that very much strongly. So I respect those people who translated those Sashiko history, Sashiko culture techniques to English or different language. And they interpreted the culture which exists in everywhere in Japan. And that is very honorable and respected job. So I'm not saying, I don't want to say that, I'm not saying that whatever I'm doing is right and they're wrong. I'm just saying this is my Sashiko style, and then I guess that can be interpreted again somewhere. Any questions? If you could give me a question. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Just a second. Is it very difficult to wash because it's so old thing? Use a tripod on your table. All right, that's a very good idea. Thank you. I'll just fold it. Why didn't I think of that? Ah, don't look at that side. Don't look at that side. Don't look at that side. That side of the table is pretty dirty. I mean, really dirty. I just. I'll answer the question. Just a second. Very well not organized. There we go. Better, I guess. Better? There we go. It is very difficult to wash the Boro fabric. When you can get a Boro fabric from the Japanese market, Japanese antique market, be careful when you wash it because the Boro fabric from the antique market may have a lot of dirt on the fabric itself. So sometimes when we get it, let's say we get a very nice vintage Japanese raincoat, like 200 years ago, like 200 years old or 100 years old, We didn't know that, but back then, when we washed it, the original weight was about 800 gram, and after washing it, it became 300 grams. So 500 grams of something is gone, was gone. They got washed away with the drain, with the washing machine. I mean, we didn't even use washing machine. We used probably hand back. Well, I used no. We didn't use washing machine. We just used the. We kept washing it with hand. So whenever we pushed it, there was like a dirt, black, gray water came out. Then after we kept washing it, the fabric became very very small, and of course it's really really fragile. But at the same time, I believe back then people washed the Boro fabric to mend. I do mend the fabric of like I do mend Boro fabric, but I don't want to stitch on this kind of stinky fabric. It's pretty agonizing. So whenever we make a Boro fabric, we wash it. No matter how risky it is, we wash it. So this fabric, like this is very not. Looks like very thin, right? It is very thin, but at the same time, it doesn't stink. The reason is that we washed very, very carefully and so like many times to be able to stitch. So this can be used as the table rag. You can wash it with hand and warm water, possibly with um, light detergent. The only improper way to use it is like cushion, I would say. Cushion might be a little bit difficult to use because the fabric itself is very weak to the friction. Friction, like friction. So, am I doing okay? I usually show my fingers, so it's really, really easy to just focus on my hand, but showing my face is a little bit of another stress, not a stress, pressure. So this is this one is the latest one, very small. Oh, now I have to redo this. Just a second. Now I can do the password, and then there we go. Again, back. Yay. So this Boro is the latest version of Boro. These fabric, the part I touched right now was very weak. It was like, how can I say that? Like a cake, like a nice cake, which if you touch it, it kind of decomposes. So we had to do a lot of stitching on it. These dots are not the patterns; these are the stitches. So I defined Boro as a rag that I kept the rag, the fabric, people kept using over and over time. Then people had to mend it to be able to use it again and again. Um, in order to do so, you have to use the patchwork techniques, you have to use the mending technique to make it happen. So, but sometimes Boro is misunderstood that it's like a mosaic art. It is not exactly it. You can, of course, it can end up with that, but in my understanding, that Boro is more like the result of repetitive Sashiko. And the last thing I want to mention about the Boro is that some art dealer, I think I've read those articles from the art dealers or art magazine or stuff like that, but Boro is the beauty of at random. So this is beautiful because those people back in Japan 200 years ago, 300 years ago, didn't think about art. They kept mending, patching. So right now, because of those color fading or thread fading, fabric fading, pattern fading, the color only time can make became this so valuable, beautiful. Yes, I think so. I think that time affected the fabric of Boro very much. However, at the same time, I believe I this is my belief, but I believe that it's not at random. If I were them, if I had a choice of picking a fabric, even very very small size of fabric, I tried to make it beautiful or unique or exclusive, different from the others. So I think these borrows, this one is actually contemporary borrow because my mother and I did it as if tried to respect what the Japanese people a few hundred years ago did. But I at the same time I believe that people back in Japan also tried to make it somewhat beautiful. That's why they use a different kind of fabric. So it's like a fashions concept, like beginning, not a beginning, fundamental of fashion, I would say. No matter how poor, no matter how difficult the situation is, we human trying to be kind of beautiful more or like trying to be unique. And I think Boro represents that. They didn't have enough fabric to buy something new, something completely fashionable, but they had to mend it. That was the Boro is the result of necessity. Necessity. They had to do that. If they could get a new, brand new, nicely dyed katazome fabric, they probably would use that. But at the same time, they had to do it, and then, oops, I think they wanted to be beautiful. That's why they used a different kind of fabric, and the Boro you can find in the museum, or if you're lucky in the antique market, is very, very strong, powerful. At the same time, I really don't want to. I like it's my personal opinion, but I personally speaking, I really don't want to keep those Boro from somebody's house in my house. Fabric talks a lot. Fabric communicate a lot, and sometimes those Boros which somebody else made is kind of strong. We try to be nice to those fabric, but I think fabric contains somebody's feeling too. So anyway, I hope what I explained made sense. Today I talked about the Boro, what is the Boro and what is not. Well, I didn't explain what is not Boro. Um, I explained what is Boro, and also there's no such a thing as right or wrong in Sashiko stitching. So I will come back to this with the stitching materials. I think this works, so I will use this um, platform to stream more Sashiko streaming with more tutorials things. I do plan to have an online workshop, which I'm gonna use this platform, I guess. So if you are interested in learning Sashiko with me, please follow us on either Instagram or Facebook or YouTube. Anything will be fine. All right, thank you so much. I will see you soon.